Speaking here to Gary Gold, assistant coach for the Springboks for Supersport.com. Gary, obviously a big test match on Saturday, and it's very important to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, I think it is, especially after a poor start in this year's Tri-Nations, well below our own standards. We worked really hard to come back to South Africa and try and turn the tables around. I thought we had a fantastic performance. We were just unlucky not to win against the All Blacks. Performed really well, and then turned a very shaky start in the first 10 minutes around on the weekend to be able to come back and play some really good rugby against Australia. So from our point of view, it is important that we start well on the weekend, and hopefully the graph can continue to keep going up. And from a confidence point of view, from our point of view, to know that all the hard work that's been done is going to pay dividends.
There was a lot of debate, especially in the away leg, about our being unable to counter a guy like David Pocock and Richie McCaw and Fetcher, and we've gone into the last two games without a recognised Fetcher, so to speak. But it shows that argument, if your players defend your ruck properly and hit the rucks at the right time as well, it makes a need for a Fetcher almost irrelevant.
Well, exactly, you're exactly spot on. I mean, it's quite bizarre really for me, because all the talk during the Super 14 with the new interpretation of the laws, particularly at the breakdown, everybody was writing about, is this the end of the Fetcher? And yet, 2 months later, in games where Fetchers have been able to have quite a significant influence, specifically in our games down under, now everybody's criticising the fact that we don't have a Fetcher. So again, the law interpretations are basically to clean up the defenders. If they're off their feet, it's played no role in the game whatsoever. That doesn't mean that a defender cannot contest the ball on the floor, because he's entitled to. It just means he needs to be a lot more accurate, and obviously he needs to allow the daylight. So you saw guys like Pocock and Francois Lowe, just to name but a few, still have an impact during the Super 14. But again, I think you've said the most significant thing. If we carry the ball effectively, if we present the ball properly, and if our cleaners do their role properly, it does nullify the role somewhat of a Fetcher, and hopefully gets us front foot ball and ball that we need to be able to attack off effectively.
There's also been a lot of talk about your captain, about John Smith, about also from last year's set piece to this year's set piece, it's solidified a lot more. Playing a team like the Aussies, who aren't maybe as powerful in the scrum, but are very tactically clever. How do you approach that?
From what point of view with John?
Sorry, in terms of his scrumming and that, there was a debate last year about him moving to tight head, and now he's back at hooker.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not one of the people who buy into the fact that John Smith is over. I don't believe that at all. I mean, as a hooker, he carries ball effectively. He's outstandingly strong at scrum time. His throwing is quite simply the best line-out thrower in the world, bar none. Obviously that's just his playing stuff that he brings to the party, let alone all the rest of the experience. So I'm a huge supporter in John being there. He does solidify the front row, and I do believe that he's talented. He is a talented enough guy that he can cover us in all those positions. My personal view is I think we should celebrate that fact instead of criticise it. But we also need to use it to an advantage of the team, and we need to use it to the best advantage of John. It's not fair for us one year to say, John, you need to be 120 kilograms because you're playing prop, and the next year to say you need to be 115 because you need to be a mobile hooker. So I think from this point of view, this year we've seen that John settled in at hooker. I think he's played pretty well actually under the circumstances of the team not necessarily performing poorly, and I think he's just been used as a scapegoat. But he's immense for us. Our scrums, as you say, they are particularly solid with John. Our set piece functions fantastically with John, and he's an outstanding ball carrier for us.
Is he going to stay at hooker till the World Cup now? Is that has been the final?
He's going to stay at hooker this weekend. Then all the strategies are then going to go on the table with Pete and the coaches. And at this particular moment in time, all those plans are underfoot at the moment. But all we're focusing on is the next game.
Great stuff. Thanks, Gary.